One thing that we've seen in Europe is a sort of domino effect. We've seen Greece, now Ireland, and you know that people in the markets are asking very aggressively whether we're going to see more dominoes fall. Portugal,
really?
Spain, yeah, really. It's maybe a surprise to you. I'll talk to your staff about that. How worried are you about that?
Well, I'm worried, and that's why I'm urging the Europeans. I just attended the Eurogroup meeting, which is the group of the finance minister of the eurozone 2 weeks ago. I'm urging for the European to provide a comprehensive solution, because this piecemeal approach, which to deal with Greece first, with Ireland after, maybe another country later on, obviously doesn't work. And the markets just are waiting for what's next. And
even betting on what's next, right?
Yeah, even betting on. So if they bet too much, they may lose. But the idea is that the Europeans have to provide some comprehensive solution, including what has to be done by the countries which are at stake, but also what has to be done at the central level in terms of providing the resources, what has to be done by the ECB, of course, and all this takes time in Europe. And that's probably the main problem of the eurozone these days. The system has been built and worked well in quiet times, but the institutions are thinking too local when they're facing global problems. And in the eurozone, for instance, you have 16 countries, each of them having a veto power. So the decision-making process is very long and much longer than the time which is the speed of the markets. So that's really a problem, not being too much behind the curve, just because to make a decision takes time. But at the end, they made the right decision. They did it for Greece, building the so-called EFSF, the facility that provides resources. And I'm confident that they will do it again. They do it this today at the European Council, talking about the recapitalization of the central bank. I'm confident that the resources are available in Europe and that finally they will be used to ring-fence the different countries. But the process is long.
So have they done enough? I mean, you're talking about the future. Have they acted with overwhelming force yet? Have they made overwhelming finance available?
I think they still have to come with a more comprehensive approach, including, as I said before, action to be taken in different countries where, while there's some skepticism about the future, fair or unfair, there's a skepticism in the market, so the problem has to be addressed. They have to come with more stronger stress tests in the banking sector, because the stress tests they have, which has been put in place months ago, were not that, let's say, reliable. They have to come with an increase in the resources of this central facility. So there are a lot of things to do. But even, again, as I say, if it takes, in my view, too much time, they will do it.
Is there a sort of a deadline? If they don't finish this process by a certain point, are more dominoes going to start to fall? Do you have...
I won't say there's a deadline, but the risk is always to act only at the last minute.
Which is what we've seen so far, right?
Exactly. That's what I call the piecemeal approach, that, again, the way to be at the edge of the cliff, and then at the last moment they do what they have to do. It will be much more effective to do it before. The problem, of course, is that it's easy to say when you're not involved in the political troubles. All these countries, including the most important one, let's be candid, Germany, has real political and legal problem in bailing out countries, intervening to help other countries, even if it's obvious that any kind of trouble in those countries at the periphery will backfire on the German economy. Even in this case, it's not that easy to do, and especially the constitutional problem in Germany make it even more difficult. So there's no deadline, but it's always the temptation to wait till last minute. If it's not absolutely needed today, let's wait for tomorrow. And then when it becomes absolutely needed, it's done. Some may believe it's not the best way to do things.
Some, including you?
Well, I have been an advocate for a long time, explaining that when you have a single currency, you need to have more coordination in economic policy. In the French wording, it's called economic government, which is frightening a lot our German friends and some others. But call it the way you want. You can't have a single currency, especially in times where you have troubles, without having more coordination in economic policy. And finally, That's what the German and others are asking when they say the Stability and Growth Pact is not strong enough, but have more Gs, sanctions. Call it sanctions, call it the way you want, but it's the same thing. It's finally that you can't have a single currency and let everybody do what it wants without taking into account the consequences on the others. So I think that one of the results of this crisis will be to enhance the institution in the eurozone and to make them more resilient and more able to cope with a future crisis.
George Soros, among others, has advocated the issuance of a joint Eurobond. Is that a good idea?
Well, it's a big discussion today about the Eurobonds. The main idea of the Eurobonds is that you have an institution, which is the European Union. There's no reason why the institution will not raise money by itself rather than going through the different countries, one after the other one. The problem, of course, is there's a technical problem that's not that difficult to solve, but there's a lot of political problem behind this, which is to give more power to the center. So
that joint economic governance we were talking about.
Exactly. We come back to the previous question, which is if you agree and if you find a kind of agreement among the players to increase the power of the center, then the Eurobonds may be a useful tool. But you cannot start with the Eurobonds. The question is not the tool. The question is the political will to do this and the treaty, because the existing treaty today doesn't make it really possible to increase the power at the center. So if you really want to do it, you need to create the political consensus on this, to do what you have to do on the legal side, and then the Eurobonds may be the right tool.